would be one. Jared Goff did it last night, right? I think he went 18 for 18. So, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown went 1 for 1. So they were 19 for 19 as a team. So.
What about? Do you think he locks out receivers a little much? I mean, from the untrained eye, how about his progressions, looking guys off?
I think Will's doing a good job. I think there's always a growth with all of that. You know, sometimes it may be a newer route that had gone in, and he doesn't have as many reps in the bank as he does with some of the other things that we've run since day one of spring. You know, I think that every quarterback can improve, every coach can improve, every player can improve. I think it's this is a growth game, you know, and how you develop. And I hope in Game 8 we're not playing like we played in Game 4. You know, I think it's as you continue to go on and start to add different elements and different things that are happening, different opponents, that's always part of it. But the growth is how do you develop over the course of the season. So I'm pleased with where Will is right now, but that doesn't mean that he's arrived. I don't think you ever arrive in this game. I think every day you got to try to be just a little bit better than you were the day before, and that's what I love about Will, though. That's kind of his mindset is how do I get a little bit better and how do I improve and how do I help this team win.
Is field vision something you can coach and teach and develop, or is it there or it's not?
No.
C.J. Stroud had it. You know, not all guys have it to that level.
Yeah, I don't think all guys have it, but I do think it can be developed. You know, I think for everybody, you know, it's no different than the first time you move into a city. You're going to have to take a map out and try to figure out your GPS, like how do I get from point A to point B, and then after a while, why was I going this way? If I could have gone around, I would have been there a lot quicker. You know, so it's just part of the process that you go through when you're new and you're trying to figure your way around and you need a map to look at. But after a while, you kind of figure your lay of the land, and then you're a lot more comfortable in your environment. And the more comfortable Will gets in our offense, I think the more success we're going to have.
Obviously, game plans dictate to some degree where the ball's going to go. When you guys have as many weapons as you do you find yourself in the build-up to the game? Okay, well, this guy maybe hasn't had as many touches. Can you even do that in this offense where you're trying to get guys more involved at times?
I mean, I think at times theoretically you can do that, but you also have to factor in what is the defense's decision on how they decided to defend you. You know, we're not. I mean, people can say we're not going to let you run the ball. Well, then we have to throw the ball. So, okay, you know, we're equal opportunities. It doesn't matter if you run the ball across the goal line, or throw the ball across the goal line. It still counts as 6 points. So, you know, we're not caught up in it. It has to be totally balanced and 50-50 run pass or whatever it is. It really is. It's indicative of what they're doing. And if we can kind of figure out what they're doing and get a really good beat of what they're trying to take away, then you are. You know, and there's sometimes you plan things going into a game and saying, hey, if I was defending us, this is how I would do it. And then when you get into a game, they're like, they're not doing that. All right. Well, then we need to take advantage of that. You know what I mean? So we talk about it and we want to be balanced. And I think we're pretty good at distributing the ball through. But there are some games where the tight ends may catch the ball more than the running backs catch the ball. That's just the nature of how the game kind of expressed itself, you know. But we have specific plays where we think we're trying to get the ball to them, but we're never going to force it. You know, if they're going to double cover a guy, then they double cover the guy. If they've double covered him, then someone's singled. And that's the beauty of having as many weapons as we have, is if you're going to double one guy, then that means somebody else isn't. You can't double them all. If they did, it's a penalty because they got too many guys on the field. So, but when you have as many weapons as we have, I think that's always a bonus and that's always a benefit.
Come over here to Adam Kidd.
You've had now 4 games as the offensive coordinator up in the box, kind of meshing with Ryan. How has that gone for you, and how do you think you've settled in here?
It's been smooth. You know, I think our guys have an understanding, you know, in terms of, because we spend so much time together during the weeks of, you know, how it's going to flow. And I don't think there's anything that has gone on in a game that's been a surprise, like, hey, what was that? Like, why did we do that? You know, there's a constant dialogue going on. But when we're in a 3rd and short situation, we only have 4 or 5 options on 3rd and short. You're not making plays up at the time. They're what you practice, what you've gone over, you know, because you're going to call something that your players have a lot of confidence in running because their confidence is based on their demonstrated ability of doing it in our training sessions. So I think it's been smooth. You know, we haven't really faced a ton of adversity on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's really when, you know, it'll show. But I'm confident that our communication systems and our protocols that we use right now are solid.
Deep center field, Jeremy Birmingham.
Liked a little better as an an offensive coordinator maybe than as a head coach this year now?
I missed the first part.
Was there anything you liked better, being an offensive coordinator, that surprised you as opposed to being a head coach?
You can go to the bathroom between series if you have to. It's about the only difference, I think. It's always kind of tough. Coach Coop can tell you that on the sideline. It'd be really difficult to say, hey, I'm going to leave, you know what I mean? But there's a bathroom upstairs by the booth, so if need be.
Jim, obviously you have a lot of players that are big weapons, as Pat was talking about. But is there a worry or a risk sometimes of getting too far over the skis, being aggressive, knowing that you have almost like get out of jail free cards like Jeremiah Smith out there that you can just throw it up to? Or, you know, Ryan was talking about trying to out-scheme against a guy like Phil Parker, and you're saying, you know, you enjoy that challenge. But is it sometimes hard to dial it back when you have guys that are that explosive?
Yeah, because it's not. We're not trying to out-scheme anybody. We're trying to put our players in positions where they can make plays. I mean, anybody can draw a play up and say, you should do this, you should do that. Then my question is, well, how many reps do you have at running it? You know, and do we feel really good because we've seen the 4 or 5 different ways they can defend that. So we're not trying to, and you're not going to out-scheme Phil Parker. You know, that's just, I think maybe people think a little bit too much into that part, is that these people already had that people's number. This game has always been about the players and always will be about the players. So, you know, who can really show up in those matchups, and that's what this game's about. You know, this is as good a defense as we talked about as we faced, but there's going to be a lot of one-on-one battles. You know, we have to win against their interior defensive linemen are outstanding. So that matchup with our center and guard against the 2 interior defensive linemen and the All-American linebacker are a huge matchup, and that comes down to just fundamental football. Do we block better than they get off of blocks? You know, can we give the quarterback enough time for our receivers to run the proper depth of their routes to get the ball thrown? Is the quarterback throwing the ball on time, or is he holding the ball too long? You know, it's all of that. So, but we don't sit in there and dream up because you have a Jeremiah or you have a Mac or you have a Q or a Trey that we should do this, this, and this. I think we're always trying to action their strengths. And play to it, but you have to look at all 11 when you're making those decisions because, hey, let's just throw it to him. Well, then how long are we going to protect for? You know, if Jeremiah is going to run a 60-yard route, you know, I learned a long time ago, every inch on a piece of paper is a second of protection. So can we protect for that long? Can we hold up? And now what are we going to do for that? Are we going to keep 8 guys in protection? You know, I think there's a lot that goes into it, but I think the ability to have weapons at all spots makes the defense have to defend all those spots. So we're not trying to specifically go to one or another. I think we're just trying to see how they deploy versus these formations and what their tendencies are, and then what are our best chances. And then we got to go play, and then we got to go execute because the scheming's done once the ball snap. You know, it's do our guys hold up longer in protection, and do our receivers get to the right depths, and does the quarterback deliver the ball on time to a location where the defender can't get his hands on it?
Last set of questions to Matt.
Yeah, just following up on that. So does it, when you go against a Parker, does it feel like a chess match where the pieces can move, you know, independently type thing? And then what is the tell that you've gotten into a defensive coordinator's head, for want of another term, as a game goes on?
It is a chess match where the pieces are moving. So what happened on play 1 may not be the same thing that happened on play 5. You know, it could be different because he could make a different call. And I don't think any coordinator on either side of the ball ever thinks about, am I getting in this person's head? You know, we're really microscopic in terms of our vision on what's the next play and what's the situation. It's 2nd and 9. It's on the left hash. You know, what are our calls on 2nd and 9 on the left hash on the plus 30-yard line? That's really where you are. You're not thinking about, am I in his head, not in his head. If you're thinking that, then he's in your head. And I don't have enough space for anybody else in my head, so I'm just going to concentrate on what the next down is, to be honest with you.
Can I ask one quick follow?
This is awesome.
Just a quick follow.
Quick follow.
Well, everybody's asking follows.
You set the tone, though.
Yeah, but when a play actually starts, what are you watching?
When the play starts?
When the play starts, are you watching how the defense is reacting? Because you know what you're trying to do offensively. Just as a coordinator, what are you watching?
We have really specific, what we call eyes. So everybody has a specific spot on the field. So the offensive line coach may have the offensive line to his sideline, but then the graduate assistant who's in the box is looking at the offensive line to away from the sideline. It's the same thing with the secondary rotation, things like that. So with as many people as we have, there's a lot to that. For me, I understand kind of what the trigger point of the play is. And if something occurred that was out of whack, then I know who to ask right away. So I can ask Billy, what'd the backside safety do? Well, he didn't drop to the backside half. He actually fit into the front. We thought that we had a play where it was going to be too deep on the backside, and it wasn't too deep on the backside. So, sometimes you get a bigger picture because of where you are, and you can see the all 22. But you have an understanding when the ball's snapped of what the play should look like. And when there's a breakdown, how quickly can you get the information of what the breakdown was and why was there a breakdown? Was it because the defense deployed differently than we thought they were going to? Or did we lose in one of the matchups that we had? The left tackle missed on a 5 technique, and so a guy came in clean because, hey, the quarterback got hit quick. I didn't look like there was a blitz. It wasn't a blitz. We missed a block. Sometimes that happens.
All right, Coach, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.